Come on, bitch, let's go. Come on, get ready, bitches. You haven't seen nothing yet. Come on.
Valentino, Versace, Lamborghini, Bugatti. I got money to burn. I'm single and I'm naughty.
Come on.
Tiffany's, Cartier, Gucci, Armani.
Come on.
Break out your black card, boys. It's time to party.
Ooh, boy, it was a late one this weekend. During the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, I actually waited to do the show till just yesterday because I wanted to cover what happened on that fight because it was such a big deal. You know, Mike Tyson, wow. Love him, hate him, whatever. Mike Tyson is an icon in his boxing industry and in what he says. I just think the guy is so interesting. You know, the way he's like, did you hear that soundbite that was going around where a little kid asks him, like, what do you think about this for your legacy? And Mike Tyson goes, legacy is for people with egos. It's all about ego. What happens is you live your life, you die, and then you're dust. Like, I'm paraphrasing, and the little girl's looking at him like, okay. Anyway, if you didn't see the fight, which would be unbelievable because I think pretty much everybody saw the fight, what happened was there were several matches that happened before Jake Paul and Mike Tyson actually get in the ring together, one of which were two women that boxed right before Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, and they have actually the best fight of the night. It was off the charts boxing. It was Katie Taylor, who actually was the gold medalist for boxing in the Olympics. She is from Ireland. One of the great stories they tell is that she loved doing boxing so much. It was illegal in Ireland, so she used to pretend to be a boy in order to go up the boxing ranks. And she's, got a lot of titles and belts. You saw her with them on stage. I mean, they needed like 3 people to carry them all. The criticism with this girl was that she leads with her head. So a lot of people, when they box her, get headbutts. And that is really not supposed to be something that you include in your boxing match. It's kind of playing dirty. And a lot of people get bloody and cut because of the head. And she has a big head. So when she boxes forward with her head, she nearly always gives somebody a slice in the eye or whatever. And last night was no different. She gave her opponent, Amanda Serrano, out of Puerto Rico, a big old slice. I mean, literally her eye almost fell out of her head. It was so bad. And she kept going back in the ring and they didn't call it because she really wanted to try to win. Here's the thing. You might have noticed if you watched the fight that Serrano kept saying, I just went up a bunch of boxing classes. She was not the correct weight, let's say, to take on Katie Taylor. She's much smaller than Katie Taylor in that way. But she did, she lost, spoiler alert, but she was a badass. I mean, really, wow, Amanda Serrano, what a talent in terms of boxing. She didn't play dirty at all, and she just had these killer blows and punches. Now, Katie Taylor, as mentioned, was called out several times for playing dirty by leading with her head. She ends up winning. Now, Katie has more form than Serrano. So Serrano is an excellent combinations fighter. And I guess somehow the people who work for Jake Paul believed that Serrano won and the people that were the judges of the actual match didn't. Now, why do I bring up this particular fight before we talk about the Tyson situation? And that is, I wanted to tell you guys that Jake Paul, in case you didn't know, actually funds and sponsors Serrano, which may explain how she jumped up 2 classes and was able to get the opportunity to fight Katie Taylor. Because Paul owns Most Valuable Promotions, which is called MVP, and his business advisor, Nikisa Bedarian, started this company in 2021, and one of their first signers was Amanda Serrano to doing their promotions. in 2021 on. So you got to know that the whole storyline that follows, where Amanda Serrano is sort of the underdog and Katie is kind of the villain in that scenario, I think, was kind of designed to get people talking and also really help Serrano as the loser. So I think they knew that Serrano was going to lose to Katie Taylor just on technical merits. And so they had this whole kind of thing they were ready to go with, which was that Katie, gives a lot of people cuts and headbutts. And I guess Katie didn't mind. I was kind of surprised about that. But Katie's like, I don't care. I won. Now, they were paid a ton of money. Jake Paul was paid $40 million just to do the fight, and Tyson was paid $20 million around to do the fight. Katie Taylor, probably similar to Tyson, and Serrano was probably paid the least, but she, got the promo from it, which was really awesome that Jake Paul got. And Jake Paul would have gotten a percentage of that because he's her promoter, like manager type person. So, all of this was designed to line Jake Paul's pockets in multiple different ways. I don't know if you guys also know this, but Jake Paul owns a sports betting site. It's through his company, Better Holdings. And Better Holdings was taking bets on this Tyson-Jake Paul mashup fight. So he made money on the betting too. Now, he also was the one who packaged this whole theatrical performance of boxing to Netflix. So he would have made money on the show itself and how many downloads it generated, etc. So, this was just a big old multiple promotion Jake Paul fest. He essentially used every component to make money on all aspects of this match. Very little to have to do with necessarily the boxing with Tyson. Now, when Tyson and Jake Paul get into the ring and they start fighting, what's clear is that Tyson, at 58 years old, is suffering from several health issues. He has an ulcer. His knee gets hurt when he's working out, preparing for this particular event. And you can tell that although Tyson still has a really powerful punch and is in incredible shape for his age in terms of muscle and all that, really incredible, that he can't really walk and jump around because his knees hurt, or, something is wrong with his legs. And so he's trying to move forward in a way that, he can try to lay a few punches, but not too aggressively because he might hurt himself. Anyway, for his age, Tyson did great. He didn't get knocked out. He couldn't move very well because of his injuries. So he couldn't do his old style, which was very aggressively, like charging at the person like a tank and then using his power punches to knock the person out. And to be fair, Jake Paul did not get close to Tyson at all during the fight. Jake Paul used his long arms, which were longer than Tyson's, to get in a few punches and was moving around a ton and getting his points that way. And he wasn't getting close to Tyson because if he did, Tyson would wallop him, and he was, stunned by it. Like it did. I saw a few times Jake Paul hit Tyson, and Tyson couldn't help but to hit him really hard back. And he never missed when Jake Paul hit him because he got close enough to hit him. So then, Tyson power punches him, and you see that Jake Paul's like, whoa. So anyway, I wasn't as upset like everybody else was with the performance of Tyson in this match because for his age and the way Jake Paul played it, he did the best that he could. And honestly, if they wanted to have a real great fight, they should have waited till all of Tyson's injuries had been addressed. And if they couldn't have been addressed, they should have done a different, rule that maybe was designed specifically for Tyson's disability, like Jake Paul has to stay a certain proximity to Mike Tyson, the whole fight, can't like dance away from him because Jake Paul does not come in like a certain sphere of him, which obviously we're never going to see Tyson really hit hard if he doesn't go close enough to him because he can't, tank forward, like I mentioned. So, but some people were really outraged and upset about the fight, and they felt like it was unfair to Tyson to have that be his last fight. I was happy to see the guy. I was like, I just wanted to see him again, it was nice. So Jake Paul probably made more last night than in his whole career, I'm going to say, pretty much. Something you should know also about this guy is he's all about the marketing, Jake Paul. So, he got married in what looked like a real ceremony to an influencer that was a hot girl that he collabed with. And of course, it was all fake. It comes out later. He's had his fair share of sexual assault allegations. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was this actress named Rayleigh Lawley, and she was a model, I guess, and she worked for him when she was 17 years old, and he used to joke around and call her jailbait and say that she was hot, and that at one point in 2017, while they're out together filming a video or working late, he groped her after the video, and she said to him, "Stop it." And he abruptly got out of there when he did that because probably was worried about the liability of it. So he just, leaves. And then she quits soon after. And she doesn't, I guess, press charges against him or anything. But she tells the story. And she says, "I was with Jake for months and I saw what kind of person he was behind the scenes and what kind of person he put out to the rest of the world." And then there was the influencer Justine Paradise, who in 2021 dropped this YouTube video where she talks about how Jake Paul sexually assaulted her. It's still up if you want to see it. I'll play you a little soundbite of it.
These days, I was in the studio. Some people were recording down there, and Jake pulled me into this little corner area in the studio and started kissing me. And I was fine with that. I did think he was cute. I did want to kiss him. That is fine. That wasn't the issue that he kissed me there. It was weird because the place that he kissed me was in front of everyone. So it kind of felt like he was showing off to his friends that he was making out with me. That was a little weird, especially since one of my friends, Michael, was there. That was a little awkward for me, but it was fine. Flash forward a little bit. Jake grabs my hand and he starts walking with me, and I thought it was cute. He was just talking to me, being nice and whatever, so I was walking with him, and he brings me to his room. People have brought me to their room before, and I'm their friend, and they're literally just trying to show me their room, or they just want to talk to me away from the crowd of people, or sometimes they are trying to do something sexual, but if I say no, they respect it, so I didn't have an issue with following him to wherever he was bringing me in his house. I don't know. While we were in his room, it was pretty cool. There's a big aquarium with a bunch of fish in there and stuff. We were just talking about I was like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Ohio." And I'm like, "Yeah, but what part of Ohio?" Whatever. We were just talking, and he was just like, "You care about what part? No one actually cares. No one actually wants to talk to me. The whole I'm famous. No one actually cares about me. They just want things from me." I don't know if that's just a card he plays, "Oh, I'm just this famous person, but you get me, and you actually want to know who I am." We were dancing in his room, like ballroom dancing, and then we were kissing and stuff, and then he took it to his bed. Sex is very special and very important to me, but I haven't had sex with that many people. I haven't. Normally, not all the time, but normally everybody respects me when I don't want to do sexual things, so I thought that it was fine if I went in his room, and I thought it would be fine to kiss him because I thought he would stop if I didn't want to do anything else. That's normal, that's what you do. So anyway, we were on his bed kissing for a bit, and then every time he would try to put my hand places or try to put his hands places that I didn't want, I would just kind of move it away and be like, "No," and then just kiss, just back to kissing. And then at one point he said, "If nothing is going to happen, then what's the point?" What's the point? I don't know, maybe I could be one of your friends. Maybe I can just be someone that you kiss. Never, ever have I rejected someone's touches and they said, "Well, if nothing's gonna happen, what's the point?" What?
So she goes on to talk about, in a pretty graphic way, how he is upset a little bit. He unzips his pants, he takes his member out and he shoves it in her face, in her mouth, forces her to give him oral sex in a very rough way, and 20 or 30 seconds later finishes and then won't let her even clean herself up, just wants to walk out of the room with her right away. So she felt obviously really disgusted with him, herself, everything, and confused. And she's super young when I say, like, she's over, 18, but she looks like she's 16. If I was to kind of describe her to you, very pretty girl. And that's it. And it, was very, very upsetting to her. Now, she didn't press charges against him, but she did tell her story. And I've heard the story so many times being in Hollywood. And of course, I've experienced her story myself with other people that were in powerful positions. I get exactly what happened to her. I guess I just wanted to call out this because as we're, giving him $100 million for last night's fight, there is this side to this man, allegedly. He would have been probably 24, 25 when this went down. She would have been, I don't even know, young, very young. I'll just say that. So he is obviously a young person, but where's this training coming from that he thinks he can behave this way? Now, he's been implicated in other scandals, which you're welcome, Jake Paul, because you made yourself such a big deal last night. I'm going to cover them. LOL. So Jake Paul and his brother have been embroiled in a lot of SEC cryptocurrency problems. Jake Paul was promoting some cryptocurrencies that were not following proper SEC rules, and he didn't disclose that he was getting money for these posts. And I guess he was getting upwards of 25,000. God, that number always follows me. 25,000 in sponsorship money for doing these cryptocurrency posts. But he didn't tell everyone, hey, listen, I'm being incentivized to post about this in a way that you should invest or whatever. He ended up getting fined with a bunch of other people, including Lindsay Lohan, $400,000 last year to settle this with the SEC. So he paid dearly for that mistake. Now, his brother was also embroiled in some cryptocurrency SEC scams, and that had to do with CryptoZoo, which was this combo or hybrid NFT type non-fungible token game that you could participate in. He was really excited about. Anyway, everybody lost their ass in this CryptoZoo thing, and so he had to buy back everyone's tokens and had to pay a lot of money to the SEC, I guess. There was lots of problems with that one. Jake Paul, by the way, also was raided by the FBI at one point because he had filmed looting riots when they were happening in Arizona. He happened to be there, and instead of getting out of where all this illegal activity was happening because people went nuts and looted, and he ended up filming all of it. So then the feds were like, we need your footage. And they went into his house and they did a whole search for his tape to seize it. He later apologized for that, of course. Anyway, he was charged for being at this riot, but they ended up dropping the charges because he didn't do anything. He was just really like an influencer, seeing an opportunity to get content and that people would want to watch. Obviously, looting is interesting to people with what it gets popular views online. He's also been known to tweet really dumb things when he's drunk about people. So he's like, please take my phone away. He's got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, he's successful. He's done a Disney show that he got fired off of. He's done music. He has a podcast. He has social media that's very popular. He distributes his content on a lot of different things, and he has lots of different companies. One of the more interesting companies he has is called the Anti-Fund, which he started in 2021 with a guy named Geoffrey Wu. And they fund things that most people would not want to be associated with. For example, Anti-Fund invests in defense technology and a military contractor called Anduril Industries. Anduril Industries is in charge of trying to invent things using AI and autonomous military technology to allow the Department of Defense to use robotics and artificial intelligence to do unmanned aerial systems and surveillance, etc. It's often been referred to as a defense unicorn. It had a startup value of $1 billion, which is insane. Now, the founder or co-founder of this company's name is Palmer Luckey, and he is the guy who invented the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset. So this anti-fund company, which he has with Jeffrey, also was what invested in Better, the company that, you could bet on all these different fights he's doing. So as you can see, he's created quite the ecosystem where he has access to celebrities, he has access to brands, he has distribution, he has promotion vehicles, and then he has, investment in venture capital companies that are investing in things that are benefiting from some of his stunts that he's doing. Yeah, I don't want to get into his brother. He has his own scandals and things too much, but other than the crypto zoo one. But that's it. And you would have seen his brother in that car when he came out of, everybody comes out of a tunnel before the boxing match. Well, you would have seen Logan Paul coming out of that cave with his brother on that vehicle. They look very similar. He was also in the prep room with him, talking to him, pumping him up before the fight. So that's that. I thought you guys would find all this interesting following that because it got, I believe, 120 million people watching it simultaneously on Netflix, which is why in certain moments during the show, the Netflix app lagged because even Netflix couldn't keep up with how many people watched it. So I felt like we should cover it. Jake Paul is an excellent marketer and businessman for his age, and stunts don't escape him. And he's doing exactly the MO of successful YouTube people that were some of the originators of YouTube when it really blew up. He's following their formula, but he's doing it in mainstream media, and he's applying it to different categories that didn't have it before, like boxing. So gotta hand it to the guy. He's got it down. Jake Paul. Loads of people hate him. Loads of people love him. Now 120 million people know who he is. Always helpful. All right, so let's move on to some Real Housewives of Salt Lake City gossip for today's show. I have a quick update. I did receive DMs from Tanisha and spoke to her a little bit. And her take is that it wasn't her who did this DMing to me through this Finsta. And we went back and forth. She said who she thinks it is. I basically came back with who I think cast-wise it is and why, breaking down some of the things that she was relying on in her theory. I told her I really appreciate her brainstorming with me about it. And one of the main things that she said, which I found very compelling, is that when she spoke on Reality Von Teese's Insta feed, she didn't use emojis and this person did. And this person did use emojis quite a bit when they were communicating with me. So I appreciated that tell, and she did show me some receipts about that, which were just to help me believe her. Anyway, I have no problem believing people when they tell me they directly didn't do something. As I always say, I will pivot at any moment because you're not a good investigator if you're too tied to any idea, because you're never going to get to the bottom of what really happened if you are. So I like to pivot. So I appreciated Tanisha very much in doing this. Now, I want you guys to know I don't believe it's Monica or Koa, which obviously would be a lot of people's go-to move on this particular one. And I want to say why. I don't believe it's them because this person was being too protective of Meredith Marks' interests. This Finsta person sent me literally all of Meredith Marks' press kit and invites from 2015 of them going to her show to show me how legitimate they felt that Meredith Marks was in business, when at the time I was wondering about it because I said, why is she using every episode to sell something? I said, I know it could have to do with, because at the time I knew early on that her husband was, the head of merchandising for different companies. Yes, Big Lots, but he did it freelance as well. So I knew that Seth was going to be mad into using this show to market different products for Meredith Marks and his kids, right? So I was like, that makes sense. But I was kind of like, is her products sketchy or not? At the time, I thought they might be. But then this person spent so much time in their DMs legitimizing Meredith Marks in the design and this and that I was like, oh, okay. And I actually changed my reporting on it because I learned so much about Meredith Marks. And then, of course, Meredith sent me a jacket later because my friend Sarah Jane, who knows Meredith, was on the show for a little bit. And she mentioned to Meredith that I couldn't afford a jacket that I loved of Sarah Jane's because it was above my budget. And Meredith was kind enough based on this to send me the jacket. And when I got the jacket, it was so well made. I was like, okay, she's an excellent designer and she does really high quality things. Like there's no doubt about it. So I had no problem endorsing Meredith Marks' stuff because it was really well done stuff, which obviously comes from her years in the business. And then, of course, this account was very supportive about Heather Gay as well, but didn't go too far with Heather Gay, which actually made me think it was more Heather Gay than Meredith Marks because of the fact that the person protected Heather but didn't go so hard that I would think it's Heather. And again, I have an insight that you guys don't know, which is I know all of these women are mad into getting gossip on each other. Period. The end. I know the truth because I've had conversations with them. I've seen them in the Patreon. I know the truth. So I'm not going, well, they wouldn't do that. No, they all would do that. They all would do it. Oh, another thing I brought up to Tanisha too was that this person gave me information that Reality Von Teese didn't know because I had conversations in the DMs with Reality Von Teese on multiple occasions. And the reason that Reality Von Teese didn't know, and I knew they didn't know, was because they were asking me a million questions about something that I was posting to do with a scandal that involved Jen Shah. And so Reality Von Teese was like, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. And I went through and I explained it all to this Reality Von Teese person, people, etc. And what is important about that is that the Finsta account, which I believe is, like I said, Heather with Meredith sprinkled on top in some way, gave me that information, and Reality Von Teese did not know it. So they didn't have that information to be the Finsta. Now, I know that Koa and Monica had a falling out with Jen Shah back in 2020 timeframe, but this account was very oriented on the show. And more importantly, probably the number one reason I believe it's a cast member is because they knew the storylines of the upcoming season before they dropped on the show. So they were gossiping about things that weren't on the show, but later appear on the show. So it's like clockwork. And so then, and I also know that they stopped gossiping when I pissed a few people off that were fans before, or we were getting along before. And I started gossiping because, as you guys know, I gossip however I feel that is the right thing. And it doesn't matter if I'm your friend or not. I'm always going to do that. And so they didn't like that. Then the help stops after that point. But it just so happens that, for example, I was talking about Heather Gay's black eye not coming from Jen Shah right around the time that this Fences stops DMing me about insider tea. Just saying. Anyway, I told Tanisha that I would tell everybody today that I don't believe it's Tanisha who did the conversations on behalf of Heather Gay and Meredith in this Finsta that spilled the Alibaba gossip to me about Whitney Rose, based on especially her receipts that she spoke never with an emoji, and this person used emojis a lot. And also, Tanisha is, works as a makeup artist for multiple cast members and works for Bravo, and she was very well established before she ever started doing all this Salt Lake City stuff. And so Tanisha coming to me and being so forthright leads me to believe that she wasn't involved. So now I'm down to Heather Gay and Meredith directly doing it, or somebody else being the conduit. So who is it, you guys? Who is it? The plot thickens. I do think it's interesting that I haven't heard from Heather Gay or Meredith about this. awful quiet, you guys. Now, the reunion's coming up, and I have a feeling, just a feeling, because I don't know this, that Adam probably sent receipts that he told Whitney Rose about my conversation with him about the Alibaba gossip, and Meredith probably will show these receipts if they allow it, and they allow it in the edit to show that Whitney Rose knew it wasn't Lisa. Okay? And instead, probably that I thought it was Heather Gay. And that'll be the big bombshell ending. But to be fair, I'm covering this so you guys know what's really going on and what I really know and what I really don't. So when the reunion drops, if that is the game plan, you guys have a different take than the average viewer and really can judge for yourself. Because that's always my goal. I mean, if I was on the show, I would just be dramatic and make a big assumption about somebody for a big ending to help the show. But I'm not on the show. So my job is to tell you guys everything as it's happening. But what I wanted to tell you most of all is the plot thickens as Whitney continues to lie to the world about Lisa Barlow being the one that sent me the gossip, because it definitely wasn't her, because I know Lisa Barlow would not use gossip about herself doing cocaine with people on the cast. Nor would she also put out there that she's having marital problems before that drops as a storyline on the show. That has to come from somebody who really wanted to hurt Lisa Barlow, because those are things that are like, real big jabs, right? They're not, your business sucks, you're sketchy AF, like they're big whacks, hoping I'll cover it. Well, they got their wish because here I am, but just saying. Not Lisa Barlow. So you guys let me know your thoughts on all this. If you haven't listened to the receipts that I went in, I didn't tell you all of them, but I told you a lot of them over the chronology of 2020 to 2024 of this Finsta with insider information on particular cast members they really wanted to make sure I covered because they would correct me when I didn't. You guys can go listen to that bonus audio from last week and really get into it and be Inspector Gadget alongside me in giving me your view and take on all this. Okay? I can't wait. And I did, like I said, drop also receipts with Whitney Rose in the Patreons. You guys can analyze those and have a ball with all of this before the reunion. I've told Adam I'm ready to do a live whenever he is to fill in the cracks. Haven't heard from Adam yet. Well, I'm sure he has his reasons for that. And when the time is right, I'm sure I'll hear from him and we'll do it. Now, I want to quickly tell you some Bronwyn gossip out of Salt Lake City. And then I want to drop a big bomb, which is what it was like to be at a freak off. For the full scoop, join the Dishing Drama Dana Patreon. The link is in this audio description. It's only $6 a month and you'll get the best information and tea about the things you care about and even the things you don't know you care about. What are you waiting for?